The year 2025 began with a familiar tension. The United States and China, the world's two biggest economies, were locked in a bitter trade dispute. Former President Trump, returning to the White House after a 4-year hiatus, wasted no time in escalating the trade war he had initiated in his first term. He slapped a hefty 125% tariff on a wide range of goods imported from China. This wasn't entirely unexpected. Trump had campaigned on a promise to get tough on China, accusing it of unfair trade practices and stealing American jobs. The Chinese government, however, was quick to retaliate. They imposed their own set of 125% tariffs on goods imported from the United States. A tit-for-tat tariff battle ensued, raising prices for businesses and consumers on both sides of the Pacific. Just when the situation seemed destined to spiral out of control, a glimmer of hope emerged. Trump announced a 90-day pause on further tariff increases for a group of countries, including China and the European Union. This temporary truce, however, did little to ease the underlying tensions. The trade war, though temporarily paused, cast a long shadow over the global economy. To understand the stakes of this trade war, it helps to look at the numbers. In 2024, total trade between the United States and China amounted to roughly $585 billion. The United States imported a whopping $440 billion worth of goods from China, while exporting only $145 billion. This massive trade imbalance, known as the trade deficit, has long been a thorn in the side of American policymakers. It means that the United States is sending more money to China to buy their goods than China is sending to the United States to buy American goods. The trade deficit with China alone represents about 1% of the entire U.S. economy. While the reliance on Chinese goods has decreased in recent years, they still make up a significant portion of American imports. The initial impact of the renewed trade war was a mixed bag for the U.S. economy. The stock market, often seen as a barometer of economic sentiment, reacted with volatility. News of the tariff pause triggered a surge in stock prices, with the S&P 500 index jumping by 9.5%. However, this initial euphoria was short-lived. Uncertainty about the future of trade relations between the two economic giants continued to weigh on investor sentiment. The prices of Chinese goods in the United States began to rise, as importers passed on the cost of tariffs to consumers. American consumers felt the pinch in their wallets as everyday items like electronics, toys, and clothing became more expensive. While the immediate impact of the tariffs was mixed, the long-term consequences for the U.S. economy were far more concerning. Economists warned that the trade war could stifle economic growth and lead to job losses. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, projected that the trade war could shave off 0.5% from global GDP growth in 2025. The United States, heavily integrated into the global economy, would not be immune to this slowdown. Job losses were another major concern. The tariffs threatened to disrupt supply chains and increase costs for American businesses, potentially leading to layoffs. The manufacturing sector, already struggling with job losses in recent decades, was seen as particularly vulnerable. Section 5. Playing economic chess, strategic trade moves. As the trade war dragged on, both the United States and China resorted to strategic trade maneuvers to gain an advantage. China, with its vast reserves of rare earth metals crucial for high-tech manufacturing, threatened to restrict their export. The United States, for its part, could tighten technology blockades, limiting China's access to vital components like microchips. The Trump administration also considered pressuring other countries, such as Vietnam and Mexico, to reduce their trade with China. These strategic moves, while potentially beneficial in the short term, carried the risk of further escalation and unintended consequences for the global economy. Section 6. Ripples in the global pond. The trade war between the United States and China sent shockwaves throughout the global economy. Countries heavily reliant on trade with either of the two giants faced collateral damage. The International Monetary Fund warned of a synchronized global slowdown if the trade war continued to escalate. Global investment, already sluggish, could plummet further as businesses adopted a wait-and-see approach amid the uncertainty. The trade war also threatened to undermine the rules-based multilateral trading system that had underpinned global prosperity for decades. Other countries, caught in the crossfire, might feel compelled to choose sides, further fragmenting the global economy. Section 7. The Mar-a-Lago Accord, a new economic order. In the midst of this trade war, a group of economists close to the Trump administration floated a radical proposal known as the Mar-a-Lago Accord. This controversial plan sought to fundamentally reshape the global trading and financial systems to favor American interests. The accord advocated for the intensive use of tariffs as a tool to reduce trade deficits and bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. It also proposed measures to discourage foreign countries from accumulating large reserves of US dollars, a move seen as artificially inflating the value of the dollar and harming American exporters. Section 8. Lessons from the recent past. The current trade war with China was not the first time the United States had used tariffs as a weapon in its economic arsenal. Previous administrations, both Democrat and Republican, had imposed tariffs on Chinese goods with varying degrees of success. These past experiences offered valuable lessons for understanding the potential consequences of the current trade war. While tariffs could provide a temporary boost to domestic industries, they often led to higher prices for consumers and retaliatory measures from trading partners. The Trump administration's earlier tariffs, combined with the Biden administration's continuation of some of those policies, did succeed in reducing U.S. reliance on Chinese imports to some extent. However, they also highlighted the challenges of disentangling two deeply integrated economies. Section 9. Charting a course through uncertain waters. As 2025 unfolds, the future of the U.S. economy remains deeply intertwined with the outcome of the trade war with China. The 90-day tariff pause offers a window of opportunity for negotiation, but significant challenges remain. The United States must weigh the potential benefits of tariffs against the risks of economic damage and global instability. A negotiated solution addressing legitimate concerns about unfair trade practices while preserving the benefits of global trade remains the most desirable outcome. However, achieving such a solution will require both sides to show flexibility and a willingness to compromise. The path ahead is fraught with uncertainty, and the stakes for the U.S. economy and indeed the global economy could not be higher.